You've seen it everywhere. It's all over social media, the viral Christmas tree in a pot. But nobody wants to show you how to do it. Well, that changes today. This is the Professor's Workshop with Dr. Rick and Simon, and today we're going to take you step by step on how you too can replicate the viral Christmas tree in a pot. Now you're only going to need 3 things to complete this project at home. You're going to need a pot or a planter. You're going to need spray foam, expanding insulation, and we're going to use this to fill our pots. And then you're going to need something for that tree to sit into. So I am using an umbrella stake, and I'm also using PVC for one of my larger trees. Oh, and Simon says, don't forget the dog treats. He's not a good boy on his own. He has to be bribed. Who's your good boy? Come. Kiss. Nose. Yes, good boy. All right, let Dad get back to work. Now, when it comes to choosing the right pot, it is both form and function. You want it to not only look good, but it also has to be rigid enough to hold your tree upright. Remember, we're doing away with the tree base. So now this pot is going to be the base for our tree. So that's why we want to avoid those cheap plastic pots, because they don't have enough strength and rigidity. They're not going to weigh enough. So your tree is just going to topple over. Both of these planters, pots, are designed to look like alabaster or quartz, but they're both made out of resin. So they're both clearly lightweight, hence my ability to pick them up pretty easily. Although I will say this one on my right weighs a lot more than this one does. These are all from Lowe's. You can get everything in today's video. I'm going to put a link to it all in the video description where you can pick it up yourself at your local Lowe's, or you can pick it up off of Amazon. If you use those affiliate links, it helps support my channel. So Simon and I say thank you in advance. Now, to be honest, I went to Lowe's and I looked at pots for like 3 different days and I couldn't decide out of the 2 of these which I wanted to use. And so in the end, I decided, why not buy them both? See which one I liked better. There is a huge advantage to this one. This one was only 32 bucks. This one was 87. But when I got them home and I started looking, guess which one I liked the most? The $87 one. But hey, it's not just an investment for 1 year. You probably keep your Christmas stuff for a long time. So it's an investment I'm willing to make because this one fits the aesthetic of our home better. Ultimately, choose the pot that works for your home, or as I say, choose the pot that your wife likes. Smart advice. Now let's talk about the bases of the trees. These are 2 different trees that I have. A 9-foot Grand Fir from Home Depot last year and this year. And this is our old Christmas tree that we've had for 10 years. Now, when it comes to the base, I'm using these umbrella stakes, and this is designed to screw into the ground so you can put an umbrella or a flag in. And it has screws you put in and you can tighten down. So this guy will hold 1 inch to 2¼ inches. So if we look at my new tree, you can see that works perfectly. Goes right on and fits that tree perfect. If we take it and we try to put it on my old tree, which has a much thicker diameter base, you can see doesn't work. But as I mentioned before, don't be discouraged because I've got a workaround for you. You can see the much more narrow base of the new tree versus the thicker base of the old one. If the umbrella stake doesn't fit your tree, then go to Lowe's and pick up some PVC, Schedule 40 PVC, for the width of whatever your tree diameter is. So this is 2-inch PVC, and they sell these in 24-inch sections. So you don't have to get a big piece of pipe. And you can see now, watch what happens. We've now got the perfect base for even our huge, large tree. So if the base of your tree is less than 2¼ inches in width, you can use the umbrella stakes that I have listed in the product description. If your tree is over 2¼ inches, then you're going to want to get some PVC. This is great stuff, gaps and cracks, expanding foam, and you want to make sure you use gloves with this. It's like super glue. If you were ever a kid, you got super glue on your fingers, this stuff is incredibly difficult to get off. It comes with the spray adapter. You just twist this on to the nozzle. And then if you're using the umbrella stake, we're just going to start filling the pot up completely. We'll take a break to say hi to Kips. Hi, Kipsy. Hi, sweetie. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Yeah, you smelled that spray foam on me? That's Simon's friend. Oh. Let's brave the Houston 5 o'clock traffic together to go to Lowe's and grab some more spray foam. I used the last cans of my spray foam from a project that I did where I created a Halloween, giant 10-foot Halloween spider from scratch using pool noodles and spray foam. You can check that video out on my channel. And while I'm talking about checking out my channel, as we go in here to grab some spray foam, I'll say if you're looking for an easy outdoor solution for permanent Christmas lights, make sure you check out my full installation review of my Lumery permanent outdoor lights. These guys are fantastic. They keep you from having to go up and down a ladder year after year with a permanent solution. And I will link that video here, and you can check out that and all sorts of other holiday videos on my channel. Appreciate you guys being here. Poor guy was having an existential midlife crisis in the paint aisle, so I didn't get to show you guys grabbing these. Also pretty clear why this cart was abandoned in aisle 11. I have no shame. I'm gonna clink all the way to self-checkout. And y'all thought I was kidding about how horrible it is to get this off. Just pull it like a band-aid. Spray foam restocked and removed from the leg hair. Now it's time to get back to work. So for this guy, I'm going to use the PVC. You want to make sure that it's plumb so your tree's not leaning. It can be a little bit off center. That's not going to affect it. But yeah, I don't want a tree looking like that. So I'm going to put it in the center. I'm going to take some painter's tape, whatever tape you got. And I'm just going to run it across like so. And that's just going to hold that piece of PVC in place so that I can now spray foam around it without that moving. Now that planter is a lot lighter, and so go to my little brick pile. I'm going to put these in the bottom of that pot to give it a little bit more weight. Each side. Now that has a lot more weight, and I'll go back and I'll just add the spray foam around it. In my last waning moments of sunlight, and you can see I've got both completely filled. I've got the one that I'm going to use the umbrella stake in, and then I've got the one that I'm using the PVC in. So I'll let these guys dry overnight, and then tomorrow they'll be ready for the next step. It's the next day, and we have a bit of a development. One pot turned out fantastic, foam exactly the height that I need it to, And the other pot, well, let's just say it turned into a science experiment. I mean, look at that. That is pretty cool, actually, though. We have a massive dome of foam, and foam even came up through the top of the pipe. So I went back and I looked at the video, and the difference between these two is with this one, I sprayed the foam and just layered it on top. And this one, I started foam in the bottom, and then I stuck the nozzle down into the foam and just let it rise and bubble up. You can save some significant foam, probably a good 2 bottles of foam, by just spraying in the bottom and letting that rise versus layering it on. If you do end up with your foam much higher than what it needs to be for your pot, all we're going to use is a drywall knife, and we're going to cut it off. Now I'm moving on to the part where we attach the umbrella stake. So all I'm doing is centering it in the center of the pot. Scared the crap out of me. Okay. So clearly, the amount of that foam, it is not cured on the inside. That noise was the byproduct of that gas coming out, which is just carbon dioxide. Now here's where a lot of people in their YouTube channels would just say, God, this was such a great project, like and subscribe. And I'm here to tell you that it is not always an easy project. In fact, this was nowhere near as easy, honestly, as I thought it would be. But I like to leave my mistakes in my videos, because if I'm going to make mistakes, then guess what? That means a lot of you will also make mistakes. If we look, this guy over here with the PVC is holding up incredibly well. That is the heavier tree, that is the thicker base, and the foam is holding that perfectly. This tree is perfectly straight also, so I love that. What I don't like is the fact that, well, you can fit a small child under the bottom branches. That just looks absolutely ridiculous. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut that PVC and then lower that tree, but that's easy to do. Perfect. So you can see, you can fix your problems. That looks amazing. That's exactly how I wanted that to look. This guy here, my favorite pot, well, this was a complete disaster. I used my saw to shave the foam down to have a nice flat area on the top. But what you don't see is that inside of this, that is still wet. It's gooey, wet, non-reacted foam, just like there was on the inside of that one. But that one dried, this one did not. So I have no idea what's going on with that. And that was my $80 pot, by the way. I'm gonna let it dry overnight. This is where when you use the foam, you've got to be really patient, because as we saw, it was hard on the outside, and then once I started cutting into that foam, the center portion of that foam was still wet. Again, this one dried today, over the course of the day, and that is nice and solid. This one, not solid. So I'll let that dry overnight, see if it improves, And then if it doesn't, I'm just going to take the foam out of that and then use another concrete bucket, because that's still my best odds.
And that's right, folks. There's door number 2.
So now I'm going to show you another option to set your trees in pots. And this is going to be the sturdiest option, but also the least accessible. And it's the least accessible because it requires concrete. And let's face it, not everybody can physically pick up a 50-pound bag of concrete, nor do they want to. But this is going to be the sturdiest option, and it also gives you some flexibility because we're actually going to put the concrete in a plastic bucket that sits inside of our pot, so you can change the pot out year after year if you'd like. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have to pick the right size bucket. This is a 5-gallon bucket. This is way too big, so let's change that. Okay, that's way too small. This is not going to work. Let's try one more time. Perfect, just right. This is a 2-gallon bucket, not to be confused with the 5-gallon bucket or the mini bucket. The 2-gallon bucket is going to work for most planters. You can see it fits perfectly fine inside there. For this large planter, the 5-gallon bucket will also work. The exception is that 5-gallon bucket is going to take more than one bag of Quikrete, and ain't nobody carrying around a 100-pound bucket of concrete just to hold a Christmas tree up in your living room. You want to use the Quikrete Fast Set because this guy will set in 30 minutes to an hour, so not a lot of waiting around. Now you always want to add your water to the dry. I don't know why, but my grandmother used to tell me that. For baking. We're going to keep adding. I'm going to take my anchor, either the umbrella stand or the PVC. And again, we want to check it for plumb. So I'm going to use my level just to make sure I'm plumb, because I don't want my tree tilting left or right. Once this sets up for 30 minutes to an hour, it'll be good to go. This guy turned out fantastic, by the way. Hour later, he is rock hard. Break out an old scale and let's see how much this guy weighs. $38.8 pounds. So if you can lift 38.8 pounds, by all means, I would suggest this is the method that you go for, because it is far sturdier. It's going to hold that tree perfect, and you don't run into any of the issues that you may run into with foam. So that's my advice to you, is if you want something sturdy and you can carry 40 pounds, do the concrete in the bucket. That's going to be a much sturdier option for you. If you can't lift that, then you can go the route of the foam, but you're going to have to be really patient. And so you're going to need to allow that foam several days of cure time before it's probably going to be solid enough on the interior to hold that PVC or that umbrella stake. Post your questions, your thoughts, your comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next build. So for comparison purposes, here it is with the tree base that came with it. Grand fir with a blah base. Now let's try it in the pot.